Right, so listen here, you bigot. I'll tell you the problem with female characters in the West, okay? Usually, I give anime as a comparison to show you how, like, female characters are done properly. But I'm only using anime because a lot of people have seen anime and know what I'm talking about. But if you want, we can also go with movies from the 90s. We can go with what South Korea is doing right now. We can go with Bollywood. Like, humanity as a whole creates culture. And just because we live in the West and we're exposed to the type of culture that's being bombarded on us from the West, doesn't mean that this is normal. And it doesn't mean that this is grassroots. It doesn't mean that this is what the market wants or what people want to see. It just means that the gatekeepers, the journalists, and the people who greenlight these productions, they want to impose their view on the world. And right now, their view is gender abolitionist. Right, like they believe that this is normal, that this has to happen. They have to force behaviors, like the speaker for BlackRock said. So when you call out that a Western female character is ugly, is boring, is bland, you will notice two things happening. Number one, your post will go viral. Like you're probably going to get tens of thousands of clicks and engagements because a lot of people feel what you're feeling. Like the market resonates with you. You're not alone. The second thing, you're going to notice people going out of their way to attack you. And they're incredibly aggressive. And this wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, if you were to say you don't like a female character, it would be just like today when you say, well, I read the book about this character and I didn't like her. And most people would be like, okay. Right? But no, like these people go out of their way to attack you. Like they will call you a coomer. They will call you obsessed with porn. Like they will use any shaming tactic that they think of, usually by projecting, in order to get you to shut up because you're attacking their ideology and they want you to stop. They're begging you, they're imploring you, please stop attacking our ideology, right? Especially when they see that other people agree with you. Because if no one agreed with you, if you say, well, this female character is bland and boring, then they wouldn't attack you, right? Because like they would view that their ideology is safe. So, I will just name you a couple of things that prove my point, all right? So it's not even about like the beauty of the character or anything like that. Western female characters lack sensuality. Like you will not find a female character from a Western production, whether it's a AAA video game, whether it's a movie, a TV show, that has sensuality. And I need to add, came out within the last 5 years, and maybe like you may find a couple of exceptions in TV shows or things that I don't know, but like overwhelmingly they do not have sensuality. And the reason for this is that sensuality is an inherently feminine trait. And if you want to do gender abolition, then you cannot have this represented at all. So sensuality is like the first thing that they remove. When is the last time, because this is what someone asked me and it blew my mind, when is the last time you saw a straight kiss being represented on television, one that's romantic? When is the last time? Like try to think about 5 different productions that you saw, whether it was in a movie, a TV show, that represents just a romantic, wholesome kiss between 2 individuals that love each other. I think like the last one that I personally saw was from Hell of a Boss. Like they actually have like 2 characters that genuinely love each other and they're straight. But the only reason that I even noticed is that it's such an outlier that it jumped into my face, right? But like other than that, you don't see it. Now, again, look at Bollywood. Look at South Korea. Look at the anime. They have like straight kisses all the time. Look at what Hollywood used to do back in the 90s. Like we used to have these things, right? Like I'm not saying that you should have it. But what I'm saying is that romance is fucking dead. I do not know a single, like, genuinely romantic movie that was produced within the last 10 years or so in the West. A movie that would genuinely, like, make you feel emotions. That wouldn't just, like, be, like, perverted and let's have bear sex, like in Baldur's Gate or stuff like that. Like good romance, even in video games, would be Tali Zora Vas Normandy, Morrigan from Dragon Age, Viconia the Veer. But like all of these ladies, they had sensuality, right? Like they weren't perfect beings. They had flaws. They didn't ooze with toxic masculinity. Viconia de Veer, for example, is a very, like, especially in the beginning, like she's a very negative character. Like she's a a dark elf which really hates men because of her culture. She views men as inferior, but she has like such an interesting redemption arc, and she has such an interesting character development that if you actually play Baldur's Gate and you look into her character, she's very well written. And because of that, creating a romance between the main character and this NPC is very powerful. You don't get that anymore. Like, you're not never going to see that in the current state of things. And it's not just romance. Like someone else said, well, yeah, but they just want to show like buff women because this is their fantasy, you know, like the progressive fantasy, the soy boy, like he wants to see the buff woman. That's not even the case. I mean, Mikasa from Attack on Titan, right? Like, she's incredibly muscular, but she has sensuality. She has femininity. She can have moments where she's vulnerable. Like, she's allowed to have that. But again, like, remember that usually the left is projecting. So when they say that men aren't allowed to cry, they genuinely believe it. So they believe that, all right, well, if we're doing gender abolition, it means that women from our movies need to behave like men, so they're not allowed to cry, right? So this is why, like, Captain Marvel is never going to have, like, a moment of vulnerability, like Mikasa, where you can see that she's crying over some loss, or she falls in love with the guy and she's trying to dedicate herself for him. You know, like modern female characters made in Hollywood aren't allowed to experience this. And we see this with Snow White. I mean, that actress keeps going on and on how it's like, well, it's not about the prince anymore. Like, fuck the prince. It's about power. Like, she needs to ascend the throne. She needs to dominate the people, right? Like, that's what the modern Disney story is about. Doesn't have sensuality, doesn't have romance, doesn't have anything. It's just like obsession with power. Like, that is the principle, you know, power for power's sake. Like, she doesn't want to become the queen because her people are suffering. She doesn't want to become the queen in order to fix some wrong. No, she just wants to dominate. Like, she needs to be on the throne, to be the boss. But a very lonely boss, apparently. One without the prince. Or maybe the prince should just be there to worship and admire her. So that is, like, why I believe Western female characters aren't interesting or appealing anymore. Because, like, no one wants to be next to such a person, right? Like, a person that's obsessed with power, a person that's never going to show any sign of vulnerability, or like she's already perfect. Like, you don't even fit in her scene anymore. So it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, why would you relate to such a character? Like, you don't want to be their friends. You don't even want to be them because they're lonely. You don't even consider like being in a romantic relationship with them because they're also ugly. So like, what exactly is there left? Nothing, right? So this is why anime characters are more interesting. I mean, the bunny girl from My Hero Academia, I keep seeing her in trailer. I don't know what she's about because I haven't seen that season yet. But like, even her looks that she can be sensual and she can be an interesting character. Anyway, right, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.